Frid och shalom älskade vänner, och idag är det den 30 januari. Och vi far vidare på vår väg. Nyheter. Vi ska titta lite på Kina och deras roll bakom alltihopa här. Vi vet ju att Kina har mycket med Ryssland att göra i militärpakt och handelsförbund och allting. Det är ett väldigt spel som pågår just nu. Det här kan vi ju kalla för geopolitik. Det är viktigt att veta, för det kommer ju att föra med sig profetiornas uppfyllelse så småningom. Och för den som inte vet det, och vi har tagit upp det här förut, så är det ju två handelsvägar som man liksom strider om. Det är norr handelsväg, det Kina och Iran och Ryssland vill ha. Och så har du västs handelsväg då. Och det man vill göra, det är ju att knyta Indien tillsammans med Saudiarabien och några länder till, Förenade Arabemiraten, och genom Israels hamnar och ut till västvärlden. Detta är ju troligen vad som kommer att ske. För det står ju i sekel 38 om västmakterna där. Att de redan finns i Israel när det smäller, så att säga. Sen ska vi höra mitt i alltihopa väckelsesång med Kent Ronny Axelsson, och nu sjunger han Sällaregn 163. Guds folk är på resa. Kör. Snart är vi hemma. Raskt mot målet det går. Halleluja, säger jag bara. Sedan har vi Newsflash då med lite videos och nyhetsklipp. Håll till godo, hörs vi under dagen. Guds välsignelse. Amen.
News network NBC, the Chinese Defense Ministry spokesperson explicitly refuted claims suggesting that China had exported arms to Hamas in Gaza. The denial came in response to reports indicating the use of Chinese-manufactured weapons in the Gaza Strip. The spokesperson maintained that China had not supplied any arms to Hamas, addressing concerns raised by the international community regarding the origin of certain weapons observed in the conflict. The statement from the Chinese Defense Ministry spokesperson further clarified China's stance on its involvement in the Israel-Palestine conflicts. According to the spokesperson, China emphasized that it had consistently provided humanitarian assistance to Gaza, including essential resources such as food, healthcare, and first aid. The statement did stress, though, that China had not supplied any weaponry to the area. The spokesman summarized China's foreign policy strategy, which is based on three core ideas. China declared its commitment to strengthening the recipient nation's legal capacity for self-defense. Its pledge to uphold the region's security, stability, and tranquility came next. The statement also emphasized China's commitment to the idea of non-interference in other nations' domestic affairs. Nevertheless, what is the truth in all of this? Is China hiding something? Stay tuned as we delve into pending issues. Let's backtrack for a moment. What is the origin of these allegations? According to a report from the Israel Defense Forces, IDF, it has been asserted that Hamas in Gaza is utilizing top-quality Chinese weapons. The inventory reportedly includes assault rifles, grenade launchers, and advanced communications equipment. The IDF report highlights an upgrade in the weaponry and gear used by Hamas, indicating a shift towards more sophisticated and advanced armaments. Israel's intelligence agencies have been closely monitoring these developments, noting the acquisition of Chinese-manufactured weapons by Hamas. The discovery of Chinese weaponry in the possession of Hamas raises significant questions regarding how these arms reached the militant group. The potential involvement of external actors in the supply chain of these sophisticated weapons could strain diplomatic relations between Israel and China. Israeli intelligence sources have noted a notable enhancement in the weaponry and technology acquired by Hamas, prompting concerns about the origin of the Chinese supplies. The question arises as to whether these weapons were directly sourced from China or if they were obtained through an intermediary third party. The uncovered weapons, including QBZ assault rifles and QLZ-87 automatic grenade launchers, signify a significant enhancement in Hamas's firepower. The IDF issued a warning, noting that the weapons stockpile is accompanied by intelligence and communications technology built to operate inside Hamas's complex tunnel network. Israel believed that with this weaponry, Hamas may launch surprise strikes against Israeli soldiers. China's initial response to the Israel-Hamas conflict exhibited a cautious and equivocal stance in assigning blame. Beijing refrained from making definitive statements until a day after Hamas attacked Israel on October 7th. At that point, China called on the relevant parties to cease hostilities and emphasized the imperative of a two-state solution. Notably, in its response, China did not explicitly condemn the Palestinian armed group or mention it by name, demonstrating a diplomatic approach that sought to avoid direct alignment with any specific party involved in the conflict. Within a week of the initial attack, there was a noticeable shift in China's stance. Chinese diplomats began characterizing Israel's bombardment of Gaza as a form of collective punishment. They asserted that while countries have the right to self-defense, such actions must be guided by international law and should not be carried out at the expense of innocent civilians. After the initial response and the shift in stance, Beijing has consistently advocated for multilateral and peaceful solutions to the Israel-Palestine conflict. China has aligned itself with the diplomatic approaches promoted by the United Nations, particularly within the framework of the powerful Security Council. As China assumed a leading role in the Security Council, it emphasized the importance of collective efforts to address the complex issues underlying the conflict. China's stance on the Israel-Palestine conflict has become a subject of contention among analysts. Some observers perceive a distinct pro-Palestinian orientation in Beijing's foreign policy, suggesting a deliberate alignment with the Palestinian cause. This viewpoint sees China as actively supporting the Palestinian perspective, both diplomatically and rhetorically. On the other hand, an alternative perspective posits that China's position may be more reflective of a global trend in public opinion that has grown increasingly critical of Israel's military actions, particularly in response to the bombing campaign. Before the recent conflict, China had maintained amicable relations with both Israel and the Palestinians. This diplomatic approach is rooted in historical context, especially during the Mao Zedong era in the 1960s. At that time, Beijing viewed the Palestinian cause as an integral component of the global campaign against imperialism. China provided support to armed factions of the Palestinian Liberation Organization, aligning with the broader anti-colonial and anti-imperialist sentiments that characterized Chinese foreign policy during that period. Throughout subsequent decades, China continued to engage with both Israel and the Palestinians, adapting its foreign policy to evolving geopolitical dynamics. China's emphasis on non-interference and respect for national sovereignty allowed it to maintain relations with diverse nations in the Middle East, including those with differing stances on the Israel-Palestine issue. China has expanded its oil purchases significantly, including large quantities from Iran, a notable supporter of Hamas. Additionally, China has strengthened its energy partnerships with key mediator Qatar and other Gulf states, such as Saudi Arabia. Under the leadership of President Xi Jinping, China's comments on the Israel-Palestine conflict have demonstrated a level of consistency with its past positions on Gaza. According to the China Project, China's stance, as articulated in 2008, 2014, and 2021, has typically involved calling for an end to violence and advocating for a mediated resolution to the conflict. In 2008, former top Chinese diplomat Qin Gang articulated China's stance on the Israel-Palestine conflict by calling for an end to actions that cause injuries and deaths to ordinary people. Qin Gang emphasized the need for all parties involved to exercise maximum restraint and to settle differences through dialogue. An interesting question arises. What does China want from the Israel-Hamas war? As the conflict between Israel and Hamas escalates, an unexpected development has unfolded with China taking on the role of a peace broker. China's top diplomat, Wang Yi, recently engaged in discussions about the conflict with officials in Washington, reflecting the growing concern about the potential for a larger regional war. In response to these fears, the United States has expressed its commitment to collaborating with China to find a resolution to the ongoing crisis. In addition to engaging with U.S. officials, China's top diplomat, Wang Yi, has extended diplomatic efforts by holding discussions with his Israeli and Palestinian counterparts. These talks come in the aftermath of China's Middle East Special Envoy, Zai Jun, who flew to the region for meetings with Arab leaders. China's involvement has not been limited to bilateral discussions. The nation has emerged as one of the most vocal proponents of a ceasefire in United Nations meetings, signaling a commitment to advocating for peace on the international stage. China holds a significant position as Iran's largest trade partner, with a deepening economic relationship between the two nations. Notably, earlier this year, Beijing played a pivotal role in facilitating a rare détente between Iran and Saudi Arabia, contributing to regional diplomatic efforts. In the current context of the Israel-Palestine conflict, Tehran has expressed its readiness to enhance communication with China to find a resolution for the situation in Gaza. China is in a tricky spot because it has always supported the Palestinians in their struggles. This support goes back to the time of Mao Zedong, the founder of the Chinese Communist Party. Mao sent weapons to the Palestinians to show that China was against imperialism. He even compared Israel and Taiwan to being bases of Western imperialism because both countries had strong support from the United States. Nowadays, China has been careful in its diplomacy. It wants good relationships with countries like Israel and Saudi Arabia for economic reasons. At the same time, it keeps supporting the Palestinians by expressing concerns about their rights and well-being. In the subsequent decades following the era of Mao Zedong, China underwent significant economic reforms, opening up to the world and establishing normalized relations with Israel. Today, the two countries maintain a substantial billion-dollar trade relationship, indicative of their deepening economic ties. Despite its economic engagement with Israel, China has remained steadfast in its political support for the Palestinians. Chinese officials, including President Xi Jinping, have consistently emphasized the importance of an independent Palestinian state in their remarks on the latest Israel-Palestine conflict. In the present scenario, Beijing has become significantly reliant on foreign oil imports, and approximately half of this supply is estimated to originate from the Gulf region. This dependence reflects the critical role that Middle Eastern countries play in meeting China's energy needs. The Middle East's increasing importance as a vital energy source has led to the region becoming a key player in China's ambitious Belt and Road Initiative. The Belt and Road Initiative, a flagship foreign and economic policy of China, aims to enhance connectivity and cooperation between countries through infrastructure development and economic partnerships. Middle Eastern nations have become active participants in the BRI, leveraging their strategic geographical positions and abundant resources to contribute to the initiative's success. As China pursues its vision of economic expansion and global connectivity, the Gulf region's role in supplying energy resources and participating in BRI projects has strengthened diplomatic and economic ties between China and Middle Eastern countries. The ongoing Israel-Palestine conflict provides China with a strategic opportunity to enhance its global reputation and influence. The timing is noteworthy, as it aligns with China's broader narrative of presenting itself as a more appealing global leader compared to the United States. Throughout the year, Beijing has actively promoted an alternative vision of a world order led by China, positioning itself as a constructive force in international affairs, while criticizing what it perceives as the shortcomings of U.S. leadership. Thank you for watching our video.
Guds folk är på resa emot himmelens land. Vi har ej på jorden vårt hem. Vi vill inte stanna eller slå oss till ro förrän vi når vårt mål Jerusalem. Ja, snart är vi hemma, rast mot målet det går. Håll bara ut en liten tid. När vi är hemma, segerkransen vi får. All kamp och strid är då förbi. Vi samlar skatter under vandringen här av det som på färden vi ser. Ty allt får vi lämna, intet kan föras med till himlen utav jordisk rikedom. Ja, snart är vi hemma, rast mot målet det går. Håll bara ut en liten tid. När vi är hemma, segerkransen vi får. All kamp och strid är då förbi. Fast resan kan vara mödosam mången gång. Vi ger inte upp bara går. Ty snart är vi hemma i det solljusa land, där vila ut hos frälsaren jag får. Ja, snart är vi hemma, rast mot målet det går. Håll bara ut en liten tid. När vi är hemma segerkransen vi får. All kamp och strid är då förbi. Snart är vi vid målet och vår resa är slut. Vi hemma i himmelen är. Så glada vi är som höll i prövningen ut, när Jesus vi får skåda som han är. Snart är vi hemma, rast mot målet det går. Håll bara ut en liten tid. När vi är hemma segerkransen vi får. All kamp och strid är då förbi. Ja, snart är vi hemma, rast mot målet det går. Håll bara ut en liten tid. När vi är hemma segerkransen vi får. All kamp och strid är då förbi.